Hey everyone, Luke here. Now before we talk about the chapter this week, just want to say a couple of things. First of all, as you're probably aware, Dr. Stone is on break for 3 weeks now. This includes the week next week because of the Olympic Games, and then the next time there's a weekly issue. Dr. Stone will be in that one as well. So Dr. Stone's got a little bit of a break, and to be honest, it is needed because they haven't had a break for quite some time now. So it's nice that they're getting some time to actually kick back, relax for a bit, and also come up with new story ideas and come up and do a little bit more research. Because with this chapter, yeah, they're gonna need the research based on what happens at the end. But based on this, I'm probably going to do sort of like mini reviews of the other chapters in the intermediate time, as we're on break from Dr. Stone. So that'll probably be something to look forward to. But for now, let's talk about this chapter. Alright, so this will be chapter 205, titled Universe of Zeros and Ones. So getting a little bit of binary code there with that title chapter, which is pretty well appropriate for what happens in the chapter. So it starts off with everyone just being like amazed by the fact that Ryusui has a brother, and they've actually found him. And Gen's like, is there a reason why you wouldn't tell us this earlier? And Ryusui just basically gives like what any person would do in this situation. It's like, yeah, it was a pointless factor to mention, so I didn't mention it up until this point. But since I decided Sai for his first-rate talents, is that so wrong? So yeah, I've got to mention him now, which makes sense. Like, there's no reason to actually mention these things. Well, I guess there could be, from a storytelling perspective, there could be some argument to be made about actually mentioning these as sort of like to flesh out the characters more. But in their situation, it's like we didn't need maths at this point, so there was no point in me mentioning my brother. But now that we need maths, yes, I do have a brother, and he's the best mathematician I know, or so Ryusui thinks. But yeah, that's pretty much the reason why he never mentioned it. And of course, this is just hammering in that Ryusui is, as Shonen Oji puts it, trust fund Luffy, given the fact that he has a brother that people are like, what? You had a brother? And he's like, yeah, I didn't think to mention it now because there was no reason to mention it. So yeah, I can kind of see the comparisons now that we've gone further in the series, that Ryusui is Luffy if he had money, basically. But anyway, as Ryusui's asking, is it so wrong to decide Sai's talents? Sai goes, definitely wrong. And I've always told you this before, Ryusui, I am not a genius. And yet, since way back when, you've been making those wild claims. Not just you, but Dad and the rest of the people at the company. As we get Chelsea doing her usual rigmarole of just being like, how hilarious! Still glad to have you as a regular old pal, because obviously Sai doesn't see himself as a genius. He sees himself as just an average schmo, which is kind of unusual for characters in the series. It makes Sai a pretty unique character in the sense that he doesn't view himself as anyone special or anyone with like super crazy mathematical skills. It just sees himself as just someone with great intelligence and just someone who just wants to do his own thing. So kind of a refreshing take on characters from the past here, where you have characters like Senku, Gen, and Ryusui who are just all wild and wacky, and then you have just kind of Sai who's more kind of like down to earth, grounded character. And oh my god, I've just noticed this, Sai blushing when Chelsea is grabbing his arms and just shaking it like crazy. Sai x Chelsea fanfic, anyone? There's the proof in the pudding. But anyway, continuing on. Sai asks if this is good enough for him, and Ryusui's like, nah, not a chance. As your brother, I know better. You've been trying to deny your talent since you were 4 years old, Sai. As we cut to a flashback of a young Sai who's looking a little bit I want to say he's looking a little bit bored as he sits in class, in a sort of class with a professor, and he's trying to work out this really complicated math problem, and he gives the answer, which I am not even going to try and say what this math equation actually is. If someone wants to comment below what it is, be my guest, but I'm not going to try and do it. But anyway, as Sai gives the correct answer, he thinks he's mistaken himself, and he thought that it was that plus was a multiplication sign. But then the professor's like, Sir, to Ryusui and Sai's father, Master Sai is a bona fide prodigy. Sir, you must hear this. And Ryusui, even at a young age, even as a baby, he was like, I desire it all. Like, that was probably Ryusui's first word. But yeah, Ryusui as a baby here, not the best looking when he was younger. So, yeah, pretty ugly baby Ryusui was. And I can't say that about him because he's a fictional character. Anyway, moving back to the present, Sai's going, mental math is pointless. A computer could do the same calculation in an instant, and given enough time, anyone in the world could perform 10-digit multiplication like me. And again, I love that about Sai as a character, that he's not viewing himself as just like this egotistical, maniacal person of just like, yeah, I'm the best mathematician around. He's like, no, I'm just an average guy. Anybody can do this if they're given enough time. And of course, this being Dr. Stone, we have to have reactions from all the other characters in regards to what he was saying, as we get Gen trying to figure it out, but he's like, yeah, I'm not getting there. We have Koku, who's only thinking about fish. Chrome is being a little bit more intelligent and trying to figure it out himself, but Senku's like, doing it will probably take time. And I love this like mental battle of the maths, because this is callback to at the beginning of the series where Chrome and Senku first met, and they were having that mental math battle, and of course Senku was beating Chrome fair and square, hook, line and sinker in that regard. And Sean Audrey brought on his stream that this could actually be a take on the power system or power scaling in that's normally in Battle Shonen manga, like but making it more about the scientists here, like how smart is Suika compared to Chrome and compared to Senku and compared to Sinu and Sai and all of that. So it'd be interesting to see if somebody wants to do a science scaling version of the power scaling that's normally done in shonen manga. Ryusui continues on to say that Sai cannot hide his obvious talents for maths and science, which is why Nanami Corp, which is why I desire all of the abilities. And Sai's like, yeah, I knew this was the only reason why you revived me. As we cut to another flashback of Sai and Ryusui's father, as his employers are saying, young Master Sai already has a grasp of linear algebratology and set theory, and their father is like, good, have him focus on maths then. Raise him up to being Nanami Corp's dedicated accuracy person. I can't pronounce that word that their father is saying, but of course Sai being Sai is like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a mathematician. I'm not a mathematician. And as we see him playing with now this might be a game of his own, or it might be a game that is already real. It might be Dragon Quest based on what's going to be happening later in chapter. But personally, I've never played Dragon Quest, so I could be completely wrong here. But anyway, we see Sai, who's disappeared to go and play a computer game, and Ryusui in the past is like, what are you going on about, Sai? Why not have it all? Just decide everything. Play video games and make them too. Polish those math skills, become a math guy, and take over an anime corp. And Sai's like, Ryusui, I can never do that. I just love games and I just want to program them. So it's quite interesting that Sai was kind of like rebellious in his youth, and he's like, no, I don't want to be what you were saying. I want to be a programmer. Even though that's kind of like related to math as well. But in a different way. It's because of course you need math skills to kind of do the calculations of like the programming in terms of like video games and how they're going to be debunked and everything. You still need a decent amount of math skills for that job. But anyway, Ryusui constantly pesters him about Sai having desire and helping him build a race course. I need you to calculate the optimal racing line, and let's build a ship. Computeral so fluid dynamics affect the sea. So, and Sai's like, I am not a mathematician, so I'm a programmer, so I am gonna go to university, get away from Ryusui Nanami Corp, and just go to university, even though he's going to a university that Nanami Corp did start up, basically. But yeah, so that's pretty much the flashback we get of Ryusui and Sai, which, like I've been saying, like I said on the Shonen OG's stream, it's kind of a realistic, brotherly dynamic that they've got going on there, because we see in this chapter that it's clear that they do love each other. Like Sai and Ryusui do love each other. It's just like I said last week. I kind of called this. It was. It's kind of like Ryusui's just like push for decide. Like he wanted Sai to decide everything to do with maths, and that just like irks Sai so much. Like he was like, I'm booking it out of here. So yeah, even though Sai, it's clear that he loves Ryusui. It's just those little nitpicks of Ryusui's personality that tick him off, and he just needs to get a break from Ryusui. And that's kind of like the relationship that me and my brother have. Like my brother is obviously Sai because he's a computer expert, and obviously him being the old one, I'm Ryusui, and like I have autism as well, and sometimes my autistic actions can sort of like irk my brother on and get on his nerves. Like even though we both love each other, like it's just sometimes he needs to get away from me. And yeah, I don't blame him from some of the stuff, from some of the actions that I do, like just get under his skin. But he does get his revenge and get under my skin. But it's all fun and games in the end. I mean, we went halves on dinner yesterday, so we clearly love each other. But also, Sai and Ryusui love each other as well, because if they didn't love each other, Sai wouldn't have been the first person that Ryusui wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, this person, we revive him. And he wouldn't have been thinking of his brother so fondly in that regard. And Sai, like I said, he obviously loves Ryusui, but it's those little nitpicks of Ryusui's personality just irk Sai off. So pretty realistic situation and pretty different dynamic that we've got going on here, as opposed to characters like Ruri and Kohaku, for example. And you could argue as well that there's kind of like a few bits of this relationship kind of molded in with Ginryu and Kinryu's relationship. Like them two do love each other, but Ginryu's like pervy nature and like just smug attitude that just rubs Kinryu the wrong way, that sometimes he just has to get away from his brother. So yeah, kind of different dynamic, but having a few similar traits there with Ginryu and Sai and Ryusui's relationships. As Sai is explaining to everyone that that Nanami Corp wanted to put him to work, and that's why he left Nanami Corp and Ryusui and fled to university in India, because all he wanted to do was code. As we get him like just quite a sad nature here. You see Sai in the panel just with his hands like this, as if he's at a keyboard, and then you just see like a computer just fading from his eyes, and then him realizing that there's no computers in the stone world. So that's kind of like a depressing mental state for him to be in. He's like, all I want to do is code. Like that's kind of probably what's going through his mind here, as he seems to be almost on the verge of tears here. Like he can't do the thing that he always wanted, like the thing he desires the most, if we're using Ryusui terms. But anyway, he asks Senku, like, how long would it take to achieve a proper modern day computer in this stone world? And Senku says, semiconductors are hell, you know. Well, even hell is manageable at this point. They're impossible out of the question. At best, 5 years, maybe 10 years. And Ryusui's like, not Ryusui, Sai's like, there it is, see? Why did you revive me? There was no point in even reviving me. And reviving and being revived into so much as a pocket calculator. What can a programmer hope to achieve? So again, even though even though he doesn't see himself as a mathematician, needed a pocket calculator. Pretty mathematical device there. But Ryusu's was just taking this in his stride and just being like, it's just good old Sai doing his usual thing. But when push comes to shove, he's quite capable. So yeah, clearly loves Sai. Like I said before, it's like, yeah, even though Ryusu did wind him up big time, it's like, I know my brother and I know he's capable when he puts his mind to it. But Chelsea says, doesn't really seem like math is his thing though. Kind of feel bad for the guy. Yeah, I do too as well, because it's kind of like waking up into a stone world and he can't do the thing that he wants to do. That's kind of a bit depressing when you really think about it. But bit of hair. Yeah, I know, I need a haircut. Gonna get one this week. Anyway, back to the chapter. Chrome goes on to say, he said he's not even that quick when it comes to calculations. And this is where we get a callback to last chapter where they were like, where Crocker says, so the slice bit step means everyone dies, and they're like, no matter how you slice it, Silo cannot handle our flight trajectory, which gives the impression to me that they're gonna have to actually revive more people for this task based on that line that Senku said right there. But they go on to say, unlike the Apollo's mission, we've got Y-Man and Total Unknown. The situation could evolve any which way, so we need someone ready to respond and calculate at top speed for 24 hours straight. We could fly in plenty of others to help with the manual calculations, but we're still treading on thin ice. So yeah, even though they're probably going to revive more people, there's still it's still thin ice and a thin thread that they're actually treading on here, because they don't actually know what Y-Man actually is. As Fran is holding some food over to Sai, who's sitting in a room with the purses, he's lamenting on the fact that he can't have a computer for 5 years, and what do they want from him? In the meantime, since he's unable to code for 5 to 10 years, he'll just have to survive. And before he goes on to say, wrong, who say I can't code? Coding is all I can do, as we see him picking up some pens, which I have no idea where they got these pens from. I have seriously no idea where they got these pens from. Maybe they made them off screen. Who knows? But seriously, where did they actually come from? Anyway, later on, Fran is bringing out some more food, but then she notices that the food hasn't actually been eaten yet. And from what I can tell, it seems to be it seems to be Sai was there all night, because we see a panel of the half moon and then we see morning, so he's probably there all night lamenting and then being like, screw this, I'm going to be coding because that's the only thing I can do at this point. And Ryusui and Gen are like, that's odd, who on earth could resist the alluring aroma of fresh curry? Who indeed? Seems like cause to worry. Dear Sai. And who can resist the allure of curry? Plenty of people actually, Ryusui and Gen. But anyway, as they see Sai, we see him just looking as if he has multiple arms, probably a reference to when he was first found as a statue, and he had those arms in the form of the Indian deity. But anyway, we see him just like doing just crazy coding, kind of like in the vein of how Yuzuriya used to do it, like the whole crafting clothes for everyone, just had it going berserk mode. But Sai is much more calm, collective when he's doing this, and we see him getting like quite a Ryusui style look on his face, like we see kind of like a smirk there, like this is he's kind of, you're probably thinking like, I've not done coding for so long, this just feels great to get back into doing what I'm doing. As we see not only Gen and Koku being surprised by this, because that's expected, but also Senku. Like it's very rare when we get to see Senku legitimately surprised and shocked by something here. And this is what people are thinking, like, well, if Senku and Sinu are brilliant at maths. What can Sai bring to the table? And this is kind of a unique thing. Like, he's not bringing maths to the table. He's bringing computer programming, which is one of the bare basics that you need to actually do this space mission, because you need a computer to do the space mission and get all the calculations down through the programming that's going to be needed to get this rocket that they're going to be building to the moon. Senku says machine code, the most direct way to talk to a computer and the oldest type of programming language there is. And I love Sai, because he goes from being like just this serious, calm, collective character to someone who's just like completely bad. It's like, no, you haven't seen anything here. You haven't seen anything here. Don't look. And then Chrome's like, it's kind of hard not to look. It's everywhere, man. Before Sai explains what he was doing, and he says, you see, I was thinking, even if this world lacks computers, what can I do in the meantime is jot down some code for later, which makes sense, so that when they actually do get the computer that they're going to be building, which is the big cliffhanger at the end of the chapter, and we'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, it makes sense to actually jot down stuff so that, okay, we've got the computer, now all we need is the programming code to actually program what everything is going to be in this computer. And maybe this will relate to another role that Sai is going to be playing when we actually start building the computer. But anyway, continuing on, Senku goes, no one can really read any of that stuff. So this programming code is for Dragon Quest. Let's get some amazing art from, I assume from what people are saying, is from Dragon Quest. It are like characters from Dragon Quest. Like I said, I've never played Dragon Quest, but I know it's quite one of the most popular video game series in Japan. Like, everybody knows it, because there was an interview from Boichi and Inagaki where they basically explained, like, Dragon Quest was the series that we picked to be referenced, because Dragon Quest has been referenced before in the series when Suika was first introduced, and Chrome said, "You're not Momotaro," and Senku was like, "You guys don't know Dragon Quest or Monster, but you know Momotaro." Like, they said that the reason why they picked Monster Hunter and Dragon Quest is because they wanted something so familiar that even Senku would know the reference. Because even though he's probably never played Dragon Quest or Monster Hunter himself, I believe it was Monster Hunter. You know what? I'll get the clip up, or I'll look in the volume. Okay, it was Volume 3 when it first dropped, but I just want to say that I found the panel when Chrome was saying in the art of adding. So yeah, when they had the mathematical battle, that I found that point. But yeah, here's the panel I found, that one right there where Senku goes, Dragon Quest and Monster Hunter are a mystery to you, but you know about Momotaro. So the reason why Boichi and Inagaki picked that is because, like I said, Senku, even though he probably never played those games before, they're so familiar in Japan that even he knows what they're all about. Kind of like if they use Pokemon, I'm sure Senku would very much know about Pokemon. That's all I wanted to say on that. That's all I wanted to say on that matter. So for now, going back to the series. Although it looks like he has played, it looks like he has played Dragon Quest before, because we see him looking like amazed by that, like legitimately surprised and amazed, which is, again, very rare of Senku. Like, very rare to show legitimate surprise and excitement about something that he has not thought of, or something that he cannot do. And again, I love that fact that even though Senku's this incredibly smart guy, even he knows his limits, and it's pretty exciting to see him get excited over something. But anyway, continuing on, Ryusui says, "You're telling us no matter how primitive the machine you're coding can create a whole universe inside a computer?" And Sai gives Ryusui probably like a annoyed look, like how, like literally that's the look of a brother who's like, dude, who's like, oh, sorry, a bit of blur there, sorry guys, but yeah, that look from Sai is the look of, dude, seriously, how long have you known me? Like, you should know that this is what I am capable of, and this might have been the reason why you revived me, even though you're claiming it's for my maths. I'm going to show you the true reason why you should have revived me and why I needed to be revived. But anyway, he goes on to say, indeed it can. That's what coding is all about. And Senku's like, in that case, change your plans. Sigh. With your superior skill, we can wage this war with our old throwback computer. If you can make an NES, you can make a rocket fly. It's humanity's tech singularity, the ultimate apex of scientific crafting. That's right, the Stone World is getting a computer. And that's where the chapter ends. So, really, really interesting chapter. Got a lot of, we got the backstory on Ryusui and Sai, like why there was a bit of friction between them. And this will probably be the thing that kind of like brings them back together and be like, you know what, bro, you are cool. So are you. I'm sorry for all those times I called you a mathematician. You are the best programmer in this in the Stone World. And he'd be like, dude, I'm the only programmer in the Stone World. Oh yeah. So I kind of like want that. And also the fact that they are using a, have I got it here? Yeah, I've got it here. The fact that they're going to be basically building a computer in reference to an NES. I know this is the international one and not the Famicom one, which was seen in the chapter. But yeah, it kind of goes back to in one of the Angry Video Game Nerds episodes when he said Nintendo ruled the beep world. But yeah, Nintendo does rule the world pretty much in the Stone World at this point in terms of computing. Now, this is probably where we're going to, because Shonen did bring up a point that the last few chapters have been a bit too fast-paced for its own right, so maybe this will be the moment that will slow down with the actual chapters, because to build a computer, that is going to take ages. Like they said here, the best computer, it would take them 5 to 10 years in the Stone World to actually get that up and running. But yeah, now if I could go into Discord, because Party Jam did bring up an article saying that if I can actually find it, so let's go to it. Dr. Stone, here we go. Let's go up. Yeah, oh no, that was the article I put down. Most of the tools that got us to the moon have to have been invented yet, and there was no time to wait for manufacturers to catch up. So many essential processes were done by hand. So basically, building a computer to actually get to the moon, that was all done by hand. But yeah, this is gonna actually get probably a roadmap in and of itself, just for all the parts, because the parts that we'll probably need for the computer is the case. Obviously, we'll need the case, motherboard. That goes without saying. CPU, maybe not the graphics card, but RAM or memory, possibly a storage device, cooling CPU, the power supply unit, the display device, the monitor, the operating system, and even the keyboard and the mouse, and probably headphones as well. They'll probably need to make headphones as well. But yeah, those are the key components. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, possibly 11 if you include the graphics card. But yeah, motherboard, that's going to be probably the most expansive one. So we're going to get a roadmap to actually build the computer properly. But not only that, we'll probably get other roadmaps for actually building the components, because I don't know how to build a motherboard. I don't suppose anybody else can put it down in the comments. But yeah, I don't know how to build a motherboard. So it will see a roadmap for the motherboard, for the storage devices. So like for the SSD drive, or the hard disk drive. But one thing I'm pretty excited about is like how they're going to handle the power supply unit, because that will require a plug. That will require a plug to actually plug in this computer to turn it on. And maybe this is where Sai comes in with his with his programming skills. That he's the one that actually designs and builds the motherboard, and also the operating system to actually get this computer up and running, because this is like probably the most expansive project, aside from building the Perseus and the spaceship. Like in terms of the scientific nuance, this is probably the most advanced scientific nuance on Earth that they're possibly going to do, except for building the rocket, obviously. But yeah, and also I was saying that maybe after this, Ryusu would be like, great, now that we've got the computer, I decide the internet, which would immensely help with communication through all the other cities, and put a computer in Corn City, in Super Alloy City, in Aluminium City, in Ishigami Village, and get everybody communicating like, okay, are we all here, and everyone. And maybe this will lead to them actually getting video cameras, because obviously not everyone is going to be going to the moon, so they'll probably get video cameras and live feed to actually see what's going on in the rocket, and actually see what is on the moon and who the Y-Man is, so that everybody can see what the Y-Man is. So I'm hoping that we get some sort of video camera, maybe a webcam, so that Senku can do a live feed from the moon. But yeah, this computer, like Shonoji says, he reckons that this is where the arc is going to like slow down a bit, because we're not going to get the. I hope we don't get the computer like in the next. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. 30 chapters to build this computer. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. 30 chapters to build this computer, and maybe this will lead to a new antagonist being introduced in the story, because, like I said, they're going to be reviving other people. So they might revive a university professor who's a bit of a dick. So who knows whether that'll go. But yeah, that was the chapter. Really good one, really interesting one, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if we'll get a roadmap for this computer, and a roadmap for all the different components that are going to be going into this computer. Most interesting, the motherboard. I want to see a roadmap for the motherboard. But yeah, guys, that was it for the chapter. What did you think of it? Let me know. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. I hopefully will be doing, like I said at the beginning of the video, hopefully be doing mini reviews of the upcoming chapters for the other series, like Ayakashi Triangle, Mission Yotsukawa Family, Candy Flurry, that sort of thing, and I'll be giving my impressions on them as well. But for now, this will be Lashaluk signing off. Later, guys.